Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies. From the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides, get ready for a journey where adventure abides.
A travel blog.
Yeah, that's right. We're going from Capetown to Cyprus, all through the lens of Rob and Mandy's adventures online.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Travel blogs, aren't those usually just about, like, overpriced lattes and finding the perfect Instagram filter?
There's definitely that side to it.
Right.
But this one caught my eye for a different reason.
Okay.
This isn't just about ticking off tourist destinations. It's about a real-life couple embracing a whole new lifestyle.
So tell me more about Rob and Mandy. Who are they and what makes their story so special?
Well, originally from Cardiff, but now called the village of Pizzuri, Cyprus home. They've been sharing their experiences on their blog, A New Life Planned in Cyprus, since 2006.
Oh.
Sheer volume of posts is impressive. They've been at it for over a decade.
2006, that's commitment right there. It seems like they're not just chronicling their travels, but a whole life change.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the detail they provide. It's not just, we went here, we saw that. They paint a picture with their words, bringing those experiences to life.
Okay, well, you know how much we love details here on the Deep Dive. We've got a couple of their posts from a South African adventure back in 2017. Where do we even begin with something like this?
Let's jump right into day 14 of their trip. They're in Capetown, and as you might expect, their day unfolds in a way they hadn't quite planned.
Right.
They had their sights set on Table Mountain.
Classic Capetown.
Right. But sometimes Mother Nature has other plans. The cable cars were closed due to bad weather.
Oh, no. So what did they do?
They decided to make the most of it. They headed to the V&A waterfront.
Okay.
And that's where things take an interesting turn. A tourist gets injured.
Oh, no.
And Mandy, being the incredible human that she is, jumps into action.
Wait, hold up. Why is Mandy jumping into action?
Because as you'll recall, Mandy is a trained nurse.
Oh, right.
It's a small detail mentioned in passing on their blog, but it speaks volumes. They find themselves in this situation, and without hesitation, Mandy uses her skills to help. They even mention the couple being incredibly grateful for her assistance.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. Not everyone would have been able to step up like that.
Exactly. It shows a willingness to engage with the unexpected, which I think is a recurring theme throughout their adventures.
So what happens next? Did they ever make it up Table Mountain?
Not that day. With their original plans thwarted, they chose to embrace the change and took a spontaneous walk along the Sea Point Promenade to Bantry Bay. They describe it as a beautiful walk alongside the Atlantic coastline.
You know, I think that says a lot about their approach to travel and maybe even life in general. Instead of dwelling on the disappointment, they found a different kind of adventure.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just any walk. They walked all the way to Bantry Bay. That's not a short stroll. It speaks to their active travel style, which we see again and again throughout their blog. They finish off the day with dinner at a restaurant at the Winchester Mansions overlooking the Atlantic.
It sounds like the perfect ending to an unexpectedly adventurous day. Any culinary surprises?
Actually, yes. Rob decides to be adventurous and try ostrich for the very first time.
Okay, I have to know, what did he think?
He says he really enjoyed it.
That's fantastic. It's these little details like Mandy being a nurse and Rob trying ostrich for the first time that make their blog so much more than just a travel log. You start to get a real feel for who they are, their personalities.
Absolutely. They hopped on the Baz bus, which for those unfamiliar is a popular hop-off bus service for backpackers touring South Africa.
Sounds like a great way to see a lot in a short amount of time.
Exactly. Their first stop was Hout Bay, where they braved the choppy waters, as they describe it, to visit Seal Island.
Seal Island. I'm already picturing hundreds of seals basking in the sun.
You're not far off. They don't go into great detail here, but the experience clearly left an impression. Next up on their jam-packed itinerary was Chapman's Point, which is where they really start raving about the spectacular views over the bay.
So we're talking like breathtaking coastal scenery.
Oh, absolutely. And this is just a taste of what's to come. From there, they head to Boulders Beach, home to, you guessed it, penguins. Okay, now we're talking. Everyone loves penguins. Did they get any good photos?
You better believe it. They describe hundreds of penguins waddling around on the beach, including some adorable newborn chicks.
Now that's the kind of travel blog content I live for. They even make a point of mentioning the penguins' funny little walk. It's those little observations that really bring their writing to life. You feel like you're right there with them.
I completely agree. But of course, no good travel blog post would be complete without a little bit of drama, right?
You said it. And trust me, day 15 delivers. They eventually tear themselves away from the penguins and venture into the Cape of Good Hope National Park itself. Remember how I mentioned their active travel style? Well, they decided to hop on bicycles for a 7-kilometer ride to their lunch spot.
7 kilometers on bikes. Okay, that's impressive.
Right. These guys are serious about experiencing a place. And as if that wasn't enough after lunch, they continued on to the tip of the Cape, taking a funicular up to the lighthouse for those dramatic views over False Bay.
So they basically conquered land and sea all in one day. I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Me too. But the adventure doesn't stop there. As they were taking a 4-kilometer walk along the cliff's edge, soaking in those incredible views, they had a few unexpected encounters.
Oh, do tell. Don't leave me hanging.
They stumbled upon a group of large Cape baboons.
No way. Were they close?
Close enough for comfort, I imagine. They don't say exactly, but they do mention encountering them on the path.
Wow, that's incredible. You really never know what you're going to find on a hike in South Africa, do you?
That's the beauty of it. And it wasn't just the baboons. They also had a run-in with a couple of wild ostriches.
You've got to be kidding. It's like they were surrounded by wildlife at every turn. But eventually they had to head back to Capetown, right?
They did, but not before one last culinary adventure.
Hold on, before you tell me, let's give our listeners a moment to catch their breath. We've covered a lot of ground already. We'll be back in a flash to delve deeper into Rob and Mandy's South African adventures.
Okay, so before the break, we were on the edge of our seats, literally picturing those clifftop views. And you mentioned one last culinary adventure to wrap up day 15. Don't tell me they had another go at ostrich.
Not this time. Remember how Rob tried ostrich for the first time on day 14? Well, it seems he was on a roll with trying new things. That evening back in Capetown, he sampled roast springbok for the first time.
Springbok. For those of us who aren't quite up on our South African cuisine, what exactly is springbok?
It's a type of gazelle that's actually quite common in southern Africa.
And what did Rob think of his springbok dish? Give us the verdict. 2 thumbs up. He declares it absolutely delicious. It seems our intrepid travelers are just as adventurous with their palates as they are with their sightseeing.
You know, it's one thing to read about these places in a guidebook, but experiencing them through Rob and Mandy's words adds a whole other dimension. It makes you feel like you're right there with them, trying new foods, navigating unexpected situations.
I completely agree. These blog posts offer us a glimpse into cultural immersion, personal growth, and the art of embracing the unexpected, all through the lens of one couple's experiences.
And what really strikes me is their dedication to documenting all of this for over a decade. Their first post was in 2006. That's a serious commitment to blogging. It makes you wonder what keeps them going. What's the motivation behind sharing their journey so consistently for so long?
That's a really interesting question. Of course, there's the aspect of preserving memories, creating a digital scrapbook of their experiences. But I think it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's a way to connect with their loved ones back home, giving them a window into their new life in Cyprus. Or maybe it's about connecting with fellow travel enthusiasts around the world, building a community through shared experiences.
And they had kind of a wild start to their trip.
Oh,
So they almost missed their helicopter ride because of a triathlon.
oh no.
Can you imagine
Wow.
being stuck in traffic when you're trying to get a bird's eye view of the city?
It's such a good reminder, though, to expect the unexpected, even with the most carefully planned itinerary. But like the fascinating thing is how they managed this hiccup. Their host, instead of panicking, just like leaped into action.
I know, right? Like their host, Earl, sounds like a character, and he basically became their personal chauffeur for the day, determined to get them to that helicopter. It makes you wonder, you know, those unplanned interactions, if they often lead to the most memorable stories.
Oh, absolutely. What started as like a near disaster turned into the best luck because they were delayed. The helicopter company was like, we're going to upgrade you to a private tour.
Talk about a travel win.
Yeah.
And they were so impressed with their pilot, Sammy. They mentioned her age, implying that she was younger than they expected. And it just goes to show expertise can come in all forms. You really shouldn't judge a book by its cover or a pilot by their age, I guess.
Right. It's such a good reminder to just stay open-minded when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Especially you never know who you're going to meet or what you'll learn from them. But let's get back to like the helicopter experience. They mentioned taking off from the V&A waterfront.
Yes. Soaring up to like 2,000 feet.
Well,
They made it sound absolutely breathtaking with Table Mountain as this like majestic backdrop. It's like, I can feel the wind in my hair just reading their description.
that's like the power of vivid storytelling, right?
Totally.
Those sensory details like the altitude, the view, the feeling, it just transports you. But their journey takes an interesting turn after this. So instead of rushing off to the next big attraction, they're like, let's hop on a hop-off bus.
Those are such a good way to get your bearings in a new city, especially one as like sprawling as Capetown. But what I thought was really interesting is how they just kind of stumbled upon Hout Bay. And they described driving through this dense woodland, and then all of a sudden it just opens up to this like picturesque bay.
Yeah, Hout Bay is often overshadowed by Camps Bay, which is like one of the more famous ones. But Hout Bay has this like really unique charm to it. It's known for its harbor, the seal colony, and this like feeling of being tucked away from like the hustle and bustle.
And this is where that hidden gem aspect really comes into play.
Yes.
They weren't even looking for it, but it ended up being one of their favorite discoveries. And speaking of kind of venturing off the beaten path, their Table Mountain experience, I think it's a great example of why it's always good to have a plan, but to be open to changing it too.
Yes.
So they woke up and it was cloudy.
Oh.
And it was like, is this going to like mess up our plans to summit this iconic landmark?
Right. It's a classic travel dilemma, right? Like stick to the plan, even if the conditions are like not perfect, or just embrace the unexpected and see where it takes you.
Totally. And in this case, they decided to just go for it. And I kind of admire that sense of adventure, just that willingness to embrace the unknown. And it paid off because they said that the views were eerily beautiful, with like the 12 apostles all shrouded in mist.
It's interesting how their experience like challenges our idea of what a perfect view is.
Yeah.
We think like clear skies, sunshine, beauty. But there's something to be said for atmosphere.
Yeah.
The light, the shadows. It reminds us that beauty can be found in unexpected places if we're just open to it.
So true. But as Mandy is off taking in these dramatic views, Rob is captivated by something totally different.
What's that?
A working dry dock.
I'll tell you.
The V&A waterfront. I guess you can take the boy out of the shipyard.
It really is like a perfect example of how our own passions and interests influence our experiences when we travel. What one person thinks is boring, another person is like, this is amazing.
Totally.
It's a good reminder to lean into those things that interest you, to dive into those details that you're curious about, even if they aren't in the guidebook.
I love that. And I love how their journey through Capetown leads them to a place with so much history. District 6? Yeah, it's a real reminder of South Africa's past. This neighborhood that was once vibrant and diverse was torn apart by forced removals during apartheid.
District 6 is such a powerful symbol of resilience and the continued fight for social justice. Visiting that museum is such a moving experience. You get a glimpse into the lives of those who were displaced and the community's effort to preserve their heritage.
They mentioned the Grand Parade, which is nearby too.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that's where Nelson Mandela gave his first speech after being released from prison.
Can you imagine the history, the feeling in the air as he spoke to the nation from that spot? Today, the Grand Parade is this like bustling public space. You know?
All right, so we're living vicariously through Rob and Mandy today.
Exactly. We're pulling out the postcard highlights from their trip, those little details that make you want to hop on a plane yourself.
Love it. So what's first? Scenic vineyards, fancy tasting rooms.
Actually, their notes start with something unexpected. Driving into Stellenbosch, they pass by this township.
A township. Interesting.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a small thing. Apparently, this township was massive, like almost a city in itself.
Wow. Yeah, that's something you often see in South Africa. These stark contrasts, The legacy of apartheid is still woven into the fabric of the country.
Right. Makes you think.
It does. Makes the journey just as important as the destination, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And speaking of the destination, they get to Stellenbosch and, get this, dramatic mountain views, Dutch colonial architecture, the whole 9 yards.
Classic wine country, but with that unique South African twist.
Exactly. It's like stepping into a postcard. You can practically smell the pinotage in the air, right?
And feel that warm sun on your face. Although I guess you can't actually feel that through the audio.
Not yet, at least, but hey, little imagination goes a long way, right? But anyway, enough about the scenery. Let's talk wine.
That's what we're all here for, right?
Right. And they didn't just have any old wine. Their notes specifically call out the outstanding variety. They were really impressed.
Stellenbosch is known for that. It's not just about mass production there. It's about showcasing the incredible diversity of what South African wines can be.
Makes sense. Now, no wine tasting is complete without some food.
Absolutely not. A culinary crime, I'd say.
A crime against taste buds, for sure. And, sadly, Rob and Mandy didn't go into detail about the food.
Oh, come on, Rob and Mandy. You had one job.
Right. But they did mention that There was food, so we can at least assume it was delicious.
Safe assumption. Stellenbosch takes its food very seriously.
Okay, so we've got stunning views, incredible wine, delicious food. I'm starting to feel a little jealous of Rob and Mandy.
Me too. This is torture. It's a summer morning in Capetown. Picture this. You're strolling through company gardens with a warm breeze and the smell of blooming flowers. Ah, February in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, yeah.
The bloggers start their day with coffee and cake at a charming cafe nestled in the gardens, but here's where it gets interesting. They stumble upon a local wedding taking place right there.
Oh, wow.
Company Gardens, it's not just any park you see. It's a historical landmark, a green oasis in the heart of the city, and apparently a pretty popular wedding spot. This little detail, witnessing a wedding on their coffee break, tells me they're really soaking up the local scene. And speaking of loving South Africa, there's this other excerpt the listener flagged. It seems like a reflective passage from an earlier post, almost like a love letter to the country. They rave about being blown away by the warmth, friendliness, and warmth. Yes, they said it twice.
Yeah.
Of the South African people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That repetition is so telling, isn't it? It wasn't just a fleeting impression, but a defining characteristic of their experience. They've finished their coffee. The wedding festivities have likely moved on, and now it's time for them to head to the airport.
Okay.
And get this. Their experience is surprisingly smooth. Like, eerily smooth.
Okay.
No long lines, no frantic searches for passports, no lost luggage fiascos. They practically waltz through check-in and security. Now I'm wondering if they have some kind of airport superpowers we don't know about.
Airport superpowers, right?
Right. I mean, maybe they have some kind of secret.
Yeah.
Well, while they might not have superpowers, their experience does bring up a good point. Capetown International Airport has a pretty solid reputation for efficiency.
See, that's the thing I think it's so great about travel is that you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Speaking of hidden gems, I keep coming back to that Bidvest Premier Lounge.
Oh, yeah?
It's not your typical tourist trap, is it?
No.
It might be worth digging a little deeper there.
Definitely.
Is it a luxurious oasis or just a glorified waiting room?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps our listener can be the judge of that.
Yeah, keep us posted.
Exactly. Sometimes the best discoveries are the ones we make ourselves. So, to our listener, as you finalize your South African itinerary, remember to pack your sense of adventure,
Yes.
an open mind, and maybe even a little notebook to jot down those unexpected treasures you unearth along the way. Who knows, you might even inspire someone else's future journey with your own blog one day.
There you go. I like it.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
All right.
But hey, a huge thank you to our listener for sending in this incredible blog. Until next time, happy travels, everyone.
See you later.
Where we never hide.
Out on the highway, chasing the